Are you feeling distant from your partner after your baby's been born? Sleeping on the couch, no intimacy, lack of connection, and wondering why?
Hey, slow down.
You are not alone. In this episode, we'll be talking about the real, unspoken truth about how newborn and infant sleep can affect your relationships. And not only are we talking about the problems, but talking about real life solutions to help you through this season of your life.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever feel like we were roommates more than husband and wife?
Absolutely.
Hold on. So when you say absolutely, what do you mean?
So let me reframe my
Nah,
absolutely.
we here.
No.
We already here. You said it too.
No, because so here's the thing. I did not feel that way when we had our first.
Okay.
Because it felt there were so many different reasons as to why we had to work as a team. It was an emergency C-section. I had labored for 4 days. It was an extremely intense recovery. I depended on you a lot. And you really stepped up to the plate, and it was 2 adults with 1 baby.
Right.
I think when I started to feel like we were more like roommates was when number 2 came along and we had to divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Because then it was really me and the newborn and you and the toddler.
Hey, me and my dog.
And so I think that's when I really started to feel like that. And I think that really took a toll on our relationship at the time in ways that I was not really prepared for.
What do you think was the biggest contributor to like our relationship having a little bit of distance when the babies got here?
I think one thing that kind of slips your mind with a new baby is the order in which the priority is supposed to be. And it's so easy to do, and it is almost so natural because that new baby depends on you for life, essentially. So it's really easy to fall into the lack of priority, date, putting effort towards spending like alone time, making connection, effort. For you, it was running around with a toddler at all times and still maintaining like your work and everything you had going on.
Yeah.
And then for me, it was recovery, hormones, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, a newborn that's literally eating off of my body. I'm like, see, y'all know why. Being depleted of nutrition, sleep deprived, like the list goes on, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's really easy to fall into, well, we just have to survive right now. But I think in that mindset and not putting forth as much effort toward maintaining the relationship is where we got kind of lost in the sauce of parenthood. Hey mama, quick pause. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. Have you ever felt exhausted and overwhelmed by motherhood? I totally get it. Truth is, you're a better mama when you get a good night's sleep. That's why I created this live event called the Better Mama Sleep Club's 3-Day Sleep Challenge, where I will teach you everything you need to know in 3 days to get your child to sleep peacefully throughout the night, so that you can be more rested, joyful, and present with your little ones. Make sure you click the link in the description below because there's only a limited amount of spots, and I would love to help you through this season of your life. Let's get back to the conversation.
How do you think that pattern starts? Because I have an idea how it starts from on my side.
Ooh, I'm interested from his side.
How do you feel like that pattern starts?
I think the pattern starts from feeling a sense of lack of support, but not essentially like from your partner. It could just even be in like your village, or that you feel really isolated. And so, like I said, with our first, we were working as a team because we had to. I was not physically able. I was not well. I had a very traumatic birth experience that I was trying to figure out being a first time mom and healing all at the same time. And we were really good at working together. It was also the height of COVID. So like the world had essentially shut down. And so, we were in the thick of it, but together. And then when number 2 came along, I think being isolated and having to care for a newborn pretty much on my own while you had the other baby was something that complicated our connection because they're not on the same sleep schedule. Newborns essentially go to sleep later than, once you have like a good routine with your toddler. Our first was going to sleep at 7 and the baby wasn't going to sleep until 10 or 11, so it's just, we were like 2 ships in the night, like literally, like just kept missing each other. And then it became routine to miss each other.
Yeah.
And then we wondered why, like we're having tiffs or getting annoyed or getting frustrated or, expecting each other to understand something that the other one wouldn't initially understand because that's not the role that they're playing at that time.
Yeah.
So I think that caused a lot of it. But what do you think it is?
In terms of the pattern, how the pattern starts?
Yeah.
I think that the biggest contributor is not being on the same page. I think that it's just, you have to choose to ignore things. You have to choose to kind of let things go. You have to choose to know what is worth talking about at that specific time. And the one time that goes wrong, or and it's back and forth, especially hormones are still, raging for you or going through whatever. You might have had a traumatic birth experience, or it could have been a cool one. You're still dealing with things emotionally. So I think that's the biggest thing where we lose each other, is just miscommunications on what we think should be done. Like me and both of us, like we mean well, but sometimes the wires get crossed. And where was one moment where you realize this is not working?
Probably at 3 weeks postpartum with our second child.
What was? Can you describe what happened?
So there's this window of time that I like to call the like excitement window, where when you have a baby, everyone's so excited and checking in on you and asking if you need anything for like the first 2 weeks. That third week, it's crickets.
They be like, you got it, man. You straight.
Yeah, but I think it's just, like everyone's like the adrenaline comes down from there being a new life.
Yeah.
And so when that adrenaline dies off and your village gets back to work and your village gets back to real life, and it happens, and it happens every time. And like, here we are going on our 5th baby, and every single time, the first, 1 to 2 weeks, there's a meal train, there's DoorDash gift cards,
Man,
there's
out.
people dropping off food.
Shout out to people with the meal trains.
Yes, definitely. People sending diapers and wipes to the house. And then that 3rd week, things get really quiet. And as a mom who has struggled with postpartum anxiety and depression, I start looking like, wait, who's checking on me? Like who's looking out for me? And then, of course, because it was our second, you were on toddler duty with number 1. And I think that's when I really realized, like, this is not sustainable.
What's the biggest thing no one tells you about newborn sleep and relationships?
I think how you start to see the other person as the problem, as opposed to like your teammate in addressing the problem. Because you sit there completely sleep deprived, exhausted, hormonal, recovering. And, I've had relatively smooth births vaginally once we went VBACs. Yeah. I think if you even are healing from, tearing or anything that could happen injury wise, you start looking at everything you got going on and start looking at the person sleeping next to you going, ain't no way I'm finna die on this cliff by myself.
Man.
And then you start thinking they're the problem. They're not doing enough. you know? And really, like, we were tag teaming kids. Like,
Right.
we were trying to figure out how to divide and conquer. And I think the divide part is what really got us, like, caught up.
Hmm. Okay.
What is it for you?
What is what for me?
What was something that no one told you about newborn sleep that you were not prepared for as a new father?
So I think that, well, luckily for the first, it was only for the first 3 months with the first baby. So I don't, like you said, I think it was the second baby that really hit me.
She
Cause
came.
that,
Woo!
man, cause that
I
first
came
baby,
in like a wrecking
look, I'm telling you, cause
ball.
that first baby we had and the schedule and the program that you had that baby on, where it was sleep from it, when she was sleep from 12 to 12. I think that was, I mean, for
7 to
from 7
7.
to 7. I think that was just, yeah, I think that's what allowed us to, well, made me, it pump fake me, made me think that, I was like, oh, okay, they just go to sleep like that? Be
Hmm.
great, like, I don't know what you did, that little magic trick, make them go to sleep from 7 to 7 at 3 months
Yeah.
is amazing. So I think that's what kind of tricked me. And then we got to that second one and I was like, oh, okay. Even, I think the best part about it though, and I will say this is what tricked me about the first one as well. So we didn't co-sleep. So she was like not in the bed.
Right.
So I think that we didn't really feel the intimacy deprivation with that first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that second one, it got tricky. And I know everybody looking like, y'all got 5 and 5. So we found a way for
Yeah.
sure. But there was some distance in terms of like emotionally, I guess, and how we've like felt in terms of connection. Why? Just because we ain't really get to talk as much. We just like, man, like
Yeah.
you got that baby, I got this baby. All right, cool, you straight. All right, pound. Like, and matter of fact, do you want to get in there real quick? All right, cool. Let's and like,
Wow.
it just goes like I mean, I'm trying to help them. We trying to help. So I mean, that's just kind of what it was. No, for real. That's just what it was, and that's kind of like you kind of use what you got and kind of deal with what you have. But I think it was contributing to us not really, I mean, beefing at certain points.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the setting also, right? So when you have your first baby, and we had our first baby
and it was in COVID, so
three,
we were
yeah, it
locked.
was,
So let me. We should have
we
took
should have
that.
prefaced
We
with
should have
that.
for sure did that. It was in COVID. We were in lockdown. We had to stay in the house. I mean, in normal circumstances, that's gonna drive you crazy. So not getting to leave the house with a 3 month old and being essentially locked up before that because she was pregnant before COVID hit. Then as soon as we had the baby, it was another lockdown because we had already lost our first baby, so we were just super careful. So we was almost locked down 2 years, just
Yeah.
stuck with a baby. So and then not stuck with the baby, we're blessed with the baby, but also in the same house with each other where we were kind of just going at it. So that really
Right.
was rough. So yeah,
Yeah. But even then, like, the setting was so different for us because we had our first, and I had an emergency C-section after laboring for 4 days. She was premature,
yeah,
had really, really, really intense postpartum anxiety and depression because she was so tiny. I felt like if I stopped watching her while she slept, like, she was not going to be there.
yeah,
And so I was extremely sleep deprived, but physically recovering. You were doing all the diaper duty, anything that like required physically getting up
yeah,
because of my recovery. So the first one, we were like, it was 2-on-1. Like,
yeah.
we were really working as a team. And then, um, yeah, the second one for sure. And also, those are our babies that are closest in age. They're 15 months apart.
Yeah.
So to go from that experience during COVID, getting pregnant at 6 months postpartum, and then another baby coming in, and, you know, there's a saying that God tricks you with your first to get you to have
The
more.
coldest pump fake ever.
Man.
I jumped. Hey, oh.
So our first was a dream, and definitely, I mean, we worked hard to maintain that? Like, would we have rather been snuggled up in the bed with our little baby? Of course. Like, and not to say that we didn't have a lack of connection with her because we didn't co-sleep. We took that she had a contact nap every day, you know, things like that. So we still were very connected with her, but the co-sleeping and it being one baby really made a difference. And then you were so right. Number 2 came along and it was like divide and conquer, 2 ships passing in the night, like just missing each other all the time.
What's one thing you would never do again those newborn months?
I don't think there's anything that I would take back other than being more prepared for and putting effort toward our relationship. Because I think that's something that I kind of got a little bit lost in when our second came, was just divine order of priority. And, you know, for us as Christians and as believers, it's God first. Second is your husband and wife, you know, each other, your spouse, and then the kids.
Then the regrets.
Yeah, the only difficult part, though, is that in those beginning years, especially that first year, that child is so dependent on the mom for life, essentially. You know, like if you're breastfeeding, like you're literally keeping that baby alive through your body. And so I think, although I'm really proud of the effort that I put into each child as they came into this world, I think I definitely did not put our relationship as priority as far as like intimacy, connection, coming to find you, expecting you to constantly come and find me. But we also had a lot going on with me hormonally, postpartum depression and anxiety, and just dealing with all the things that come after you have a baby. Hey, Mama, thank you for joining us. Motherhood never ends, and neither should our fellowship. Make sure you join our community so we can do life together and be the village that we've always wanted and needed.
For people who are having their first baby or even having multiple babies, what do you think they don't know about sleep deprivation and how it has you reacting to your partner?
Well, don't quote me because, you know, y'all like to quote me on things I say, but throughout history and like throughout history and the military and like torture, like how enemies would torture each other, like sleep deprivation is one of the like biggest things that they do to someone they're trying to torture, because you have a lack of like sense of reality, like you're not regulated because you're so exhausted. It literally shuts down parts of your brain that you need to think logically. And so I'm sure you're nodding your head like this sounds really familiar.
No,
like,
I'm just trying to understand.
Logical.
No, I'm not saying that. I was just trying to understand from your perspective, you know?
Yeah, I'm just saying that a lot of people don't understand how sleep deprivation can really, really affect like your healing, your understanding of reality, what's actually happening. You know, your emotions when heightened can alter the reality of what's happening around you, feeling like no one's there supporting you, you're isolated, when really you could have all of the help with all of the best intentions, but you're just so tired that you're missing it.
Yeah.
Like you're not catching where people are checking on you, or your partner is looking out for you, or, you know, it's constant. Yeah. And it's for, you know, however long it is until your baby starts really like understanding rhythms and routines and getting to a point where they're actually sleeping well so you can sleep well.
Right. And then even talking about the rhythms and routine, I know that plays probably a big part in like the distance in relationships, because that's probably what starts people even sleeping in the separate room, right? Like, I got to go to work in the morning. The baby's crying. Let me go here and handle this, because now I can't sleep and I can't work. I can't function. I'm trying to provide for the family. And you're probably like, I'm in here by myself. I I'm having a baby by myself. We did this together. What am I doing here? And it's like both of us are trying to tag team something that we built. So I think that that's even a big part of how you start sleeping in a separate room. And then sleep deprivation, distance, you have to choose to want to do right and want to avoid them arguments that you want to have so bad.
Right.
Especially men. I don't want to talk too much about women. I know y'all have the even just the birth process, the pregnancy, just being pregnant, just going through the 9-10 months of growing a life. I know is difficult in itself, but men also having that time of just trying to prep, maybe stack bread, maybe do whatever you do to prepare. I think that gets a little bit overlooked. So then in trying to be a team, y'all end up being enemies. So I think that's kind of something you have to be intentional about avoiding.
Yeah. And I think when you have a new baby, right, you're taking this relationship with your partner that you put a lot of effort toward. And then this new baby comes in and the baby takes so much effort that you can't pour from an empty glass. Or, there's even just the differences in how men and women interpret intimacy.
Right.
Like some people can interpret intimacy just by being in the same room, not even talking, just like physically being together. And some people can't, interpret intimacy that way, or they need physical touch, or they need words of affirmation, and that takes a lot of effort. So the relationship that got you to the point where you have brought in this child takes a hit, essentially, because now you're still the same person with an added responsibility.
What do you think most couples get wrong in the first couple months? Like, what do you think they get wrong for a couple months of having a baby?
So I think everyone has their priorities and what they see as most important in bringing a new life into their family. I think people assume that if I'm going to sleep train my child, or I want to put them on a routine or have them on any type of schedule, that there's like a lack of connection. And I think one thing that we did really beautifully was optimize connection in the first 6 to 8 weeks to really hone in on who our baby was and learn them and learn each one, and also, get all the feels of bonding.
But what does that mean? Because that's like, what does that mean for somebody? Like, what does optimize?
So a lot of people are like, oh, sleep training is so cruel, and schedules are so cruel, and routines are so cruel, and my child isn't going to have a healthy attachment because if I just start doing this right away. But I think there's a balance. So for us, like, we didn't actively co-sleep, but the baby was in like a little sleeper bed on our bed. Right. So the baby was close to me, which is how I preferred it, but not physically on me or like next to me in the bed, because I was just terrified of like suffocating the baby, or you rolling over and suffocating the baby.
I won't go do that.
No, but you'll roll over on me and like...
Yeah, but you're you.
I understand. It was a part of my postpartum anxiety, right? So, that's something that I was really adamant about for the first like 6 to 8 weeks. And then slowly creating distance, but we still room shared. Baby was in the bassinet next to the bed, as opposed to in the bed. So we established a really good connection and a bond with each child in the first 6 to 8 weeks, which was really good for us. It was really good for baby. It was really good for my healing. But then essentially starting to find ways that we could really implement routines and schedules and help support our child learning how to sleep well and learning their own space while still having a very healthy attachment to us. And I think where people essentially go wrong in the first couple of months is making such a black and white decision of like, okay, I'm either going to co-sleep 100% and focus on attachment and bonding, or I'm going to be really harsh with schedules, routines, and then not feeling as connected, especially if you're struggling with like any postpartum anxieties or depression. Like that could really like affect you, because as much as your baby needs you, you need your baby too. And so I think that's where people can get really stuck is thinking too black and white and not flexible. What works for us? What makes the most sense? What is our priority in establishing good sleep for us and our child? So from your perspective as a dad, what do you think most couples get wrong in the first few months?
I would say expecting that counting down with that 6 weeks, trying to slide on something for the 6.
Oh, the
Man,
first 6 weeks.
I know people probably like, man, y'all got to it. We did get to it. I'm not gonna lie, we did get to it. Like maybe not the first one, but the second one, the third one, the fourth one. Maybe that not be everybody's experience, but I think you start realizing like that 6 weeks is. I don't really go by that. I will go by how you're feeling and how the pregnancy was and the birth was and your mental is and what you've been going through. Because we started getting more babies, you starting to have to worry about one, and then you're thinking about the other. So I think that just not falling in love with that 6 weeks or just really like holding that like a countdown type of situation. Making sure that both of you guys are mentally solid before getting back to, because it's new life. It's different. You're not ever going to have the same life. I think the biggest mistake they make is thinking that they're going to have the same life and everything is just going to be the same. I think that would be naive to think, honestly.
Yeah.
It's really naive to think. Not saying your life won't be similar to what you have, but you think it's going to be the same and the relationship is going to be the same without any type of hiccups or just adjustment period. I think that's kind of naive.
Yeah.
And you have to work towards that. So I think that would be the biggest, I guess, obstacle people don't really realize that's coming their way when they have a new baby.
Yeah. Well, and I think also just for women, there's so many things that change, right? Like essentially our DNA changes. Like at the very root of it, like our DNA is different because we've grown a child. And then the effects of what that pregnancy did to our body and how we feel about it.
The DNA is different now.
Yes.
Because they're
I'm sure about that. I know y'all are gonna Google, but yeah, no, I'm sure that when like creating a life leaves I read that creating a life leaves DNA from your child within your DNA. But hey, look it up yourself. I am not Google.
That's funny.
But yeah, I completely agree. I think holding on to those first 6 weeks, and I think even for us, I think when we transitioned from hospital births to home births and having a doula and a midwife and looking at birth from a more like holistic, natural point of view, that's when we really started to understand that a woman's body is not recovered in 6 weeks. Even the placenta detaching from the uterine wall takes 6 months to heal.
6 months?
6 months.
6
so
months?
It's like...
Wait, 6 months? So you supposed to wait 6 months to slide again?
It's a... Terrence, stop with the language.
Okay, excuse me.
I know we got here, but goodness.
Excuse me. Miss,
it's not about waiting, because some women are ready to go in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But yeah, I think everyone's experience is so different in postpartum.
Yeah.
And so depending on what you're dealing with recovery wise can really offset the idea of like 6 weeks.
Right.
So I think it's just having open, honest conversations about, what is needed from your partner, and then also having a ton of grace for the miracle that your woman has given.
What's the first result we saw once the baby started sleeping through the night?
For me personally?
Yeah.
I think I was able to function better, and I started to see that my postpartum anxiety and depression were starting to decrease, and that allowed me to function on a higher level as far as like taking care of the baby, connecting with you, having the space and capacity to even just have conversations with you
Yeah.
that didn't revolve around the baby.
Right. I think mine would be you being rested. I think you just being rested and it being like, you like, that's the most sleep I got in months.
That is a
and you're
too at some point.
That's the most sleep I got in months. So I was like, oh yeah, thank you. We back in. I mean, we good.
I mean, it's not.
No, I'm just playing, babe. No, but it was just a different attitude, a different mood that you had. Like you said, I think everything just changed in terms of how you operated. I mean, if you don't get sleep and you're up all the time, it's a new situation. Of course, you're gonna feel a certain type of way. And if you didn't have a good, smooth pregnancy or delivery, which ours was rough, the first one, so that had played a part into it, recovering and trying to. So it was a lot more that came with it instead of me just trying to get someone in 6 weeks. I know that we had to, and I don't think for C-section it's not 6 weeks though.
8 weeks.
It's 8 weeks for a C-section. So it wasn't even about that. Like you had a surgery, so it wasn't like pressing. So I think the second one I was like, yo, it was good, mama. Nice. Nah, but yeah, I think that's kind of what I saw, and then I was able to get more work done. I was able to, handle my business with the vending machines and that type of stuff. So I was able to go to the markets, handle what I had to handle without having to worry about you not getting no sleep and that type of situation. So I think it helped a lot. It helped overall with me, with business and work for sure.
Okay, so for y'all are not crazy for feeling any of these things.
I ain't say y'all went crazy. Y'all crazy.
No.
I'm just playing.
You're not crazy for feeling any of these things, for feeling isolated or like struggling. There's so many different experiences that people have. And for those of you who, life never felt like it changed, God bless you. And for those of you who, are feeling these things, you are not crazy. And we're blessed to be able to affirm that for you. Hey, Mama, just a quick pause here. I hope you're really enjoying this content. Remember, motherhood feels better when you're rested, supported, and connected. So if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel to join our community of thriving, rested mamas. We'd love to have you a part of our village. Let's get back to it.
So what were 3 things? I'll name one. So we can name 3 things. What were 3 things that you feel like changed their sleep habits that allowed us to get to that point? And I'll name one. I'll say I think it was just the sleep schedule.
Okay.
And how you would prepare their nightly routines.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree. I think probably second, or if not most important, is us both agreeing to that sleep schedule and being on the same page, because it's really difficult to implement consistency if not everyone is doing the same thing.
So what if somebody doesn't have somebody to have their back like we had, and they are kind of solo dolo and they got to figure it out? Then what would you say to them?
So my number one would be, before that baby even comes, lay it down. Like, not lay it down. Lay down the rules.
Okay.
Lay down the expectations. Voice them. Be very clear about what it is that you are trying to implement once that baby comes into the world. Because 1, it's going to be your responsibility. 2, it's going to highly affect you. And so whoever has hands on that baby needs to be on the same page. So definitely, making sure everyone who's working on baby sleep is on the same page. So the third one would definitely be just the overall schedule. I know you said like the bedtime routine, but understanding your baby's milestones, their circadian rhythm, and making sure that you have a schedule that supports their sleep. And also because they don't come out the womb knowing how to sleep. Like they come out and they're like, oh, I'm fed, I'm sleepy, oh, close my eyes, and they're asleep.
What do they do again?
Oh, I'm fed, I'm sleepy, oh, and I have a fresh diaper. Oh, I feel good, I'm warm and cozy. Oh, I'm on mommy and daddy's chest. Like they don't know what that is. Like they're not cognizant of it yet. Like you have to teach your child how to sleep. You have to teach them how to soothe. You have to teach them how to, essentially sleep. So I think, like you said, the bedtime routine, but I think just an overall schedule in general and sticking to it and being consistent.
What do you think surprises the most once we had rest?
I think that's how we got to so many babies.
On me. I was about to say the same thing.
Because like if
I
you,
was like,
right,
we good.
like we could do this. Like, I mean, our first was sleeping through the night at 3 months old, 7 to 7, and we got pregnant with the next one 6 months postpartum. They're the closest in age. Number 2 threw us for a loop. She was a little harder, but not even just her being harder. I think it was just having 2 and like,
right, figuring it out.
Yeah, having to tag team.
Right.
3 came. She was a dream.
That's my boo.
She was a dream. She started sleeping through the night at 7 months, 7 to 7. She was our 777 baby. Yeah, I think we just got to a point where we're like, oh, we always wanted a big family and they're all sleeping. And to be honest, I don't have the experience of knowing what it's like to start over because we just had babies back to back to back to back back. But I don't know how people do that. I don't know how you get really great sleep and then decide to get pregnant. We were already pregnant pretty much.
Yeah.
And then we're getting good sleep.
Right. What are 3 non-negotiables for women trying to stay connected to their partner after that season of having a new baby?
Communication. For sure. And communication early.
Okay.
Don't wait for someone to try to like figure out what's wrong. Mm-hmm. So definitely communicating, this is what I need. Mm-hmm. This is how I will feel supported. This is how I will feel loved, because women need love. Mm-hmm. Number 2 would be education. I think because we are assigned the responsibility of growing a baby and birthing a baby and breastfeeding a baby, that there is an imbalance of the amount of research that the woman does as opposed to what the man does. And that's not to, that's
when I say 3 non-negotiables for women, I ain't say
educate your man. Educate your man. No, like, I'm not being spicy. I'm saying, like, send him the stuff that you're looking at. Communicate. Oh, you know what I learned today that I thought was really interesting? Have those conversations. No. Oh, my acting skills?
No. Come on, chill. She pregnant now. She gotta chill now.
No, but I'm just saying, like, look at it as a team effort and communicate and educate as well. Like, if you're educating yourself on something, your partner should be aware of it as well. Because then essentially you're both trying to get this baby here safe and healthy. Y'all should both know similar things instead of taking it all on yourself. Okay. And the third one is, do not be afraid to ask for help.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. Like, non-negotiable. Ask for help. Like, the minute you feel like as soon as you feel like you're struggling, ask for help.
Got you.
Because in those wee hours of the night when everyone's sleeping and you're up fighting this beautiful little thing and go into war with the baby. Yeah. It could even be hard to pinpoint exactly what you need as far as help. So just saying, like, honey, I need help. Well, how can I help you? I don't really know. I just know I'm tired and I'm hungry and I'm thirsty and my nipples hurt from breastfeeding. If you're a breastfeeding mama, I haven't showered, like, all of the things that just listing where you're at and then allowing your partner to step in to help. Like, oh, you're thirsty? Let me go fill your water. Oh, you're hungry? Let me you don't have any snacks next to your breastfeeding station or your bed. Let me, like, restock you.
Let me get you some of these little biscuits, the oat ones. Those ones.
Protein cookies are good for me.
I got you.
But yeah, I just, like, So definitely communicate early on. Don't expect people to read your mind. Educate in whatever you are learning. Make sure that you are also extending or teaching or getting them on the same page. And third, do not be afraid to ask for help, even if you don't know what exactly you need in that moment.
That's interesting. So for parents out there, new parents who are having their kids and they don't want to lose a connection with their partner, it is going to be a new setting for them. What's the one tip that you will leave them with? Make sure they do this, and that is
daily check-ins.
Daily check-ins. That's great. I like that one.
Yeah, daily check-ins. Like, where you at? How you feeling? And for both people, right? Because I understand how responsible, how intense motherhood can be with just the responsibility of pregnancy, birthing, postpartum, all of that.
Of course.
But men shouldn't get lost in it either. And I know that there are men who struggle with the postpartum aspect of it. And like you said, catering to a woman while she's pregnant. And then now baby's here and you kind of get, pushed off to the side essentially. And so daily check-ins for sure. Like, where you at? How you feeling? What do you need? And how can we make this better? It's not about being perfect, just better. If you're in the thick of it right now, stretched thin, exhausted, and wondering if things will ever feel normal again, we want you to know that you are not alone. Every season of life will bring new challenges and new opportunities for grace. Keep showing up for each other, make connection a priority, and just know that you're doing better than you think you are. Thank you for joining us at From Her Side podcast. Welcome to the village.